So there's different stages of funnel, and we're going to come into this in a little bit more detail in a minute, but the fundamentals that you need to understand are that you have three stages. You have the top of funnel, the middle of funnel, and the bottom of funnel. So at the top of the funnel, if you think about it, this is when we're first engaging with people. We're going to put more people in the top, and that's where we're loading the funnel from the beginning. And that's where, if you think about a distilling process, you're putting all of the components and all the ingredients. So what we're doing here is we're throwing in all of our traffic, and our traffic is our people that we're advertising to through Facebook. And what we're asking those individuals to do is engage with our product, our brand, our business, consume our content, share our materials, maybe retain something that we talked about. But ultimately, what we're looking for them to do is take the next step, which is to move further down into our funnel. What we want to do is strike a chord, and for that person to start resonating with our initial content so that they will then consider our business or our proposition at a later date. So that takes us then into the middle of the funnel. So the middle of the funnel is the marketing impact pipeline. So when we're in the marketing impact pipeline, what we're trying to do here is we're then starting to establish our credibility. We're talking about trust, we're talking about proof, and we're starting to deliver the quality for the prospect. And we're starting to nurture them from being a cold lead to a warm lead. And essentially what that means is that the person has seen our stuff at the first point, which is the cold lead stage. They're starting they've just come across our brand, they've just come across our website, they've seen an ad, and it's the first time they're consuming our content. What we're then going to do is we then want to start talking to them more regularly, and we start to want to then nurture them and get them to understand more about our business, because we want them to trust us, we want them to understand us, and we want to be credible to them. So the next stage here is really about building that trust and utilizing tools that can do that. And then the third stage and the final stage is the sales pipeline, which is the bottom of funnel. This is when we've taken the prospects through the initial cold stage, we've warmed them up through a nurture campaign, and they're ready to purchase. They're ready to take that final action, which is a commitment to do business with you, or to purchase your product, or to buy a service. They're going to take that final action. And then in the bottom of the funnel, and this is where people don't always understand, is that within the bottom of the funnel, this is continuous nurture and what we call farming. So within this context is these people become your biggest advocates. They're the biggest advocates of your business because they know you, they trust you, they've done business with you. So they're your customers. But then there's probably another little stage below this, which is when they really become your clients, and to a point where they become your friends, where they really become endorsers of your business, they support your business, but also they're there to be farmed for your business because they're your existing clients, they trust you already, and they're going to buy again from you. They're going to repeat their purchase because they trust you, they like your product, they know what they're getting. And then they become much more of like adorers of your business. And that's how they build a lifetime value with it. And then you need to understand what that lifetime value is. So if you take a first purchase and you work with someone continuously, you can start to work out how long your lifetime value is of them. So on average, if you have a client that works with you for 6 months over $5,000 a month, then their average is $30,000 lifetime value to your business. And working with the clients in that space, when you start to build that data, that starts to become very important for you when you start to remarket into the top of the funnel, where you're starting to engage cold traffic, utilizing data that you have from this bottom section in your CRM system, where we can create lists of people from your CRM. We load that to Facebook, and then we can target people that look like that. And in the top of the funnel, Facebook will then start to go and find people that have that same demographic or that same behavior. Within the Facebook domain and within their online behavior, Facebook can identify people like your top clients and start to target them here at the top of the funnel. Okay, so that's really sort of the funnel process. And now we're going to go into a little bit more detail about how this all works and how it all comes together.